from the Garden of Eden where we're suddenly like naked, and what that means.
Yeah,
so it's like
like
suddenly we
when-
recognize our nakedness as soon as we eat from the tree of knowledge. And I think what nakedness represents is like a lot of your vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
I think because when you're naked, you're vulnerable.
Insecurities.
Right. So I believe that a lot of religions have the same drive. Like if you look at Christianity versus Buddhism versus Islam, you all have the same one as this love. There's love at the center. There's self-love, and there's love for the universe, and there's love and higher connection towards that energy that is possibly unconditional love. Because I believe unconditional love is the most powerful thing on this planet.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Beneath the Surface podcast. I got a very, very special guest today, my brother, Will. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. So we were just talking about basketball, or we wanted to talk about basketball. So, Will, what is basketball? I thought I'd start with, what does it mean to you as a sport?
Well, basketball started off to me as just a sport to try growing up, and around 6th grade, 5th grade, it really became a huge passion of my life, and I've played ever since rigorously throughout the years, throughout all 4 years of high school.
Yeah, it's been a long time. You've been playing for a while.
Like, the majority of my life, yeah.
As I already know, but it's good to point out.
Yeah, it's a beautiful sport, but other than that, it really taught me a lot of different qualities that I've applied to other aspects of my life. Like tenacity, a work ethic, and basically also showed me that as long as you put work in and you have a passion towards the subject, that you can really achieve what you want to achieve if you stay focused on that goal and continue to meet those small goals you have to progress to being a player or someone that you want to be overall in life.
Yeah.
So, let alone being a sport and being a pastime and something I use as a really healthy outlet for stress in my life, it also has really helped me grow in a lot of other aspects as well.
Yeah, I feel like the sport itself and sports in general do that kind of like when it comes to, it helps not only physically, which is the obvious one,
right,
but psychologically.
No, I believe that basketball and say the majority of sports, primarily you need a strong mind. You need someone who is focused. You need to be focused on the task, and can really increase your focus and your stamina overall. And like, for instance, the basketball especially is a game of runs. So when you'll have a team that'll score 10 points consistently, and then you'll have the other team go the same way. And a lot of that, I believe, comes of flow and workflow. And I think workflow is one of the most important things in life when you're trying to be productive.
Yeah.
Because it's a different state. It's when the only thing that matters is what you're doing, and the only thing on your mind is what you're doing and how to achieve that the most efficient and effective way you can. And that started with basketball for me, and has spread to a variety of different goals and aspirations in my life.
Damn, that's I mean, if anyone, I play basketball and tennis, I'd say are tied for me for just sports that I like. But that's a really good point, is that basketball and sports in general really provide a lot of the time a certain type of therapy for kids and people that don't have any other avenue for that.
Right.
So like, and I 100%, for me, it's been basketball as well as tennis. Like just being out there and like being on that high, like it's like a runner's high,
right?
But
exactly.
A basketball high.
Right. I think it's just exercise in general for the human body. You put yourself in an altered state.
Yeah.
That is very, very unique.
It does something. They're still finding things that are more and more things that are healthy, when it comes to exercise.
And especially when it comes to exercise and prolonging your health and longevity in life.
Yeah.
It's almost essential to be healthy and later on in life. And for me personally, it works as a kind of a form of meditation.
Yeah.
Especially when I go running as well. So when I go running, that runner's high is very real. And puts you, like I said, in a state of mind where the only thing that matters is what you're doing, and you focus on your breathing and nothing else matters. And usually for me, a lot of I see life differently
Yeah.
when I'm in this state, and it really helps me kind of see from a different perspective, especially with the hustles and bustles of life.
Yeah.
You get distracted by a lot of the things that you're trying to work on personally, rather than just your professional goals or
Yeah.
your academic goals or your goals in personal relationships. So really, running and basketball allows me to focus more on what I need to build on in myself, and yeah, I'm very grateful for that.
It's a great foundation. It's more than a great foundation. It's like all these things, like you said, kind of like social life, work life, you know, personal
Right.
life. Yeah, like all these things kind of really are one. You know, so they all kind of pile on each other. So when one thing gets overwhelming, it's like a lot of the time the other things seem more overwhelming than they are.
Right.
So then a great outlet for that sports. I had another question. What like in what aspect of life other than physical fitness has basketball helped you out the most?
It's a really good question. I'd say with my academic goals, because when I was in high school, my values were very different than they are now. There's been a substantial shift, especially when I entered college. Um, I was able to apply the goals I do with running and playing basketball every day to finding a career path and finding what it means to work hard in an academic setting and what it means to thrive in an academic setting.
Huge.
And those same goals that I had towards athletics, I applied to academics and substantially changed my overall performance in school, my outlook, and really helped me shape to the vision I have today.
So what it really is passion. Right?
Yeah, that's what it is.
It's like you've got passion for one thing, and then it's like
it's a universal application. Is this this aspiration to just push towards success?
Yeah.
And something you're passionate about.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
you've obviously succeeded in many different ways in the basketball arena. So now it's like, where are you gonna, put that passion, even though it's still in basketball?
Right.
It's like, oh well, I want to go to college.
Right. I can't make money from playing basketball. Right?
Yeah, or I mean,
I'm not going to play for the Milwaukee Bucks. It's not going to happen. Or New York Knicks. No, I'm far from good. Those people are phenomenal athletes that
those people are
superhumans.
Crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Like 7'5", like who?
Well, Yao Ming. He was the tallest basketball
NBA
player. Yeah, 7'4". Yeah, he's also from China, which is a predominantly shorter,
right? Yeah,
ethnicity when it comes to height. So
that's insane.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about that, but
yeah, so that's cool. So it's helping you in academics. That's like one of the bigger ones.
Sure.
Yeah,
I was more like a C student in high school, and when I realized, especially with college, you're paying for your classes.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a big part of it. You're investing your own time. It's not the taxpayers' money. It's your own debt, or scholarship, or just own personal funds that you have, and so basically doing that and realizing that kind of put me in a state of mind where like, oh, I got to do this.
Yeah.
And
no, totally.
as I pushed and pursued that more, I found that I really loved an academic setting. I thrived in it. And I feel very lucky for that.
You rose to the challenge.
Yeah, I, so to speak. I think everyone does that at some point in their life. They just need to realize it. I was in a very different state of mind before college too.
What kinds of like what compared to now? I'm curious. Like in high school compared to now, because we all definitely have our high school times.
Absolutely.
But for you specifically, what was the thing or one of the things that changed the most? Do you think?
Just a shift of priorities, because in high school, I partied a lot. I used substances. I went to music festivals.
Mm-hmm.
So as I grew up and saw the world more as it is, which is more of like a serious factor rather than just see how much fun you can have right now, your priorities change. Your goals change. So instead of my goals being, let's go hang out with my friends and get fucked up at a music festival, it changes to, what do I want to do? Where do I see myself in 5 years? Why do I want to be that person? And I respect myself too much to not progress and grow and be this person.
Oh my! So that's huge.
Yeah,
that's something that not many. I mean, people do that, but that's the fact that you sat down with yourself.
Right.
You
I
know,
just
you didn't really have to be like slapped in the shape to do that. Really,
No, I just
it was
decided.
Like you just were like,
It was a decision.
I'm gonna measure these things.
Right. I didn't value, like, I looked at myself in my life when I was like 19, and I was like, I don't respect my lifestyle. My lifestyle doesn't really have any respect, personally and throughout my peers. So it's like, and life is about happiness. And if you don't respect yourself, you're not happy.
Yeah.
So how can I make a shift?
Yeah.
And I found that hard work, there's nothing around hard work. You have to work your ass off in everything you do if you want to be successful in it around the clock.
Yeah.
It's unavoidable. So you might as well just embrace it and just develop a monumental work ethic.
And work hard towards something that's meaningful to you.
Right. And that's
like,
I mean, like, that's really, really hard to do too, is find a passion, because
that's one of the hardest.
75% of Americans hate their job.
Yeah.
And
we're at that age too.
That's a terrifying statistic.
Yeah. To the age of like, what the hell am I going to do with my life? Kind of.
Right. You know? Which I think is a little ridiculous that we have such a small duration of time in our early 20s and late teens to really find out what we want to do.
Yeah.
And of course we have later time, but I think it's intense, and it's through trial and error. Like, I wanted to be a teacher my freshman year of college.
I forgot about that.
Right, yeah. So I was student teaching at Hollis Brookline High School.
Oh, dang.
I was trying to be a teacher, but
that's awesome.
But like I said, through trial and error, you find out that you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And you explore other fields and other aspects, which I'm happy I did.
And now you know. And that is valuable. That is like, you could have gone all in for something that was because you thought that it was something that
as I saw myself in an academic setting, becoming more confident and having speeches, I've spoken in front of 30-40 people, having these experiences, I've become more confident in what I can do.
Yeah.
With my speech, with my energy, and so yeah, I just took basically I took a turn, and I think it's for the best.
That's a really like I said, it's a scary thing to analyze yourself, and I think that's what you did at late high school, early graduation, like you said, because you're like, okay, well, this is how I think of myself, due to my actions or whatever. It's like, how can we change that? And that question is so, like, not many people ask themselves that. They just kind of,
keep going.
Keep going. And, I've been there, we're obviously working on, myself and
of course
getting myself.
You're a human being.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But like asking yourself those questions is huge. And the fact that you kind of sat down and had a meeting with your demons kind of, and were like, wow, okay, well, how can I alter my life and my lifestyle to make more meaning and to have more respect for myself?
Right.
That's enormous, I think, and I hope because that's like, not many people do that.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I feel very lucky to be able to have that self-analysis and self-realization.
That's good.
When it comes to my own personal life and everything else.
What another question I had that we talked about earlier, about like what has subtracting basketball, but what have other like things that you have involved yourself in? Has there been anything else that's kind of rose up to basketball equally that have affected you to that way, either positively or negatively?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'd say what I want to do is I want to become a criminal defense attorney.
Yeah.
And that decision was started when I was around 18 or 19.
Yeah.
Where I got arrested a couple times for marijuana possession, and basically how I was treated by the police was, in my opinion, unconstitutional, really inappropriate.
Yeah.
And I felt I had my rights violated. I didn't know my rights at the time, but I felt it was very taken advantage of, and I felt that that's not acceptable.
Yeah.
We're paying these people to take care of us and manage our society and uphold a level of respect and conduct that is high. And I feel like they did not reach that, and I was really frustrated with that.
Yeah.
Granted, I was very lucky, and I had good representation, and I was able to have those charges dropped.
Yeah.
But I believe having those interactions and altercations with law enforcement opened my eyes to the reality that police, more often than not, do not hold themselves up to the level of standard that I believe society and everyone else should does hold them up to.
Yeah. And then this kind of went from there. You're like, all right, well, I want to try to fix this, basically.
Well,
passion maybe started there.
So I was interested by that, and I saw how I was not alone with being taken advantage of in a variety of ways by law enforcement, and something inside me just one night told me that I should go to law school, and I don't know what it was. I was 20 years old. I was at a party, and I was pretty.
Dang,
I left the party, and I went just down a walk. I mean, I randomly my heart spoke to me and told me that I should, and I've never taken a law class before that. I've never done any aspirations within that field.
Dang.
And I just took a class the next semester, and I thrived in it. I finished easily at the top of the class, and then from there, I loved the subject, and I found myself studying statutes and learning how a bill gets passed, the difference between federal and state laws. I loved it, so I just continued to pursue that even in my free time after the class ended, and I continued to take classes until I finished up at my last college. And it's a wonderful thing. And it's a beautiful thing, because I think just a lot of people also
that's I love that setting, by the way. Like you were at this party or whatever, get together, and you just like kind of went for a walk. Did something tell you to go for, or did you just kind of feel like a walk?
I think I was just over the party.
Yeah,
I think I was just like, this
You're
party
like, all right,
is
I'm
lame.
going, yeah.
I'm not having a good time. No one here I really want to speak to, so I'm just gonna hang out by myself.
And then your heart just like you just felt
it was a weird
experience.
It was a very weird experience, and I felt the same passion even when I didn't even explore the subject yet.
Wow.
I felt that same energy before I even that was similar to basketball. So
a fire.
Yeah, it's just an excitement. Like even just now talking about it, it's exciting.
That's really cool.
So I mean, we'll see what happens. Opinions change, feelings change. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. But I'm still gonna pursue that. I have one more year for my undergraduate, and then we'll work from there for the next step.
That's phenomenal. I wanted to. I'll use that as like a something that really interested me before that we were talking about was like that still small voice that maybe was in your heart. When you were on that walk.
Absolutely.
What do you think that was just kind of like intuition? Or like
it's unexplainable.
It's unexplainable because there's so many people have those like how much truth like you know as well as I, like the gut feeling,
right?
Like when you're
Your
in a situation,
right, yeah.
I don't know. I love that topic, and I'd love to talk more about it.
Yeah, we're human beings. We have sensations and feelings that are unexplainable. Look at us. Look at our circulatory system. Look at our brain works.
True.
We're complicated. Yeah. So there's obviously feelings and sensations that we really can't.
And we know so little about.
Exactly. We know nothing. Especially about the universe and everything that is around us. We're just experiencing. We're thrown into this world, and then we experience everything at a very minimal level of sensation. And whether it's not the real reality is a good question. But
that's a good question.
We live how we live.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's really hard for us to understand. I think it's the universe, and I think it's our interaction or relationship with the energy around us and what the universe is. Because obviously, being so minimal in sensory feelings and how we view the world, we really have no, I think, 100% full concept on how the world is in of itself and the universe. So the way I look at it is like, does a rat know what a cell phone is? A rat has no idea what a cell phone is.
Yeah.
And I think we're the same way. So I feel it's like when it comes to how the universe works, how spirituality works, how God is, I believe that it's really challenging for us to understand the whole picture because of how limited we are and how universal the universe and what God is. It's challenging.
Yeah, we like to say we're like, top of the food chain. There's like a kind of ego to it, right. When it comes, especially in America, is like there's this this kind of sense that, I mean, look at how we're treating the planet. And
Yeah.
we're treating it like garbage, you know. So
Right.
it's like we're the kingpins. We'll destroy this planet just because we think we are, like, we always put animals below us, but like they're on a whole nother consciousness level. They're on a whole nother like sphere, and we could measure that, you know, they don't have as cognitive abilities as us. Yeah, they don't have a portable thumbs, you know, or whatever.
Disposable
Thumbs. But like what's kind of cool is to think about is how like a lot of these animals have things that we wish we had. You know, and these are obvious statements, but like I don't know, dolphins have sonar. That's kind of cool.
Right.
You know, there's like obviously birds fly. You know, that's kind of cool. And yeah, it's too big of a picture to know. Like that's kind of how I'm feeling. Is like I'm in search mode. You know, I don't know what's going on and what God is, and you know what any of this stuff is. But what I kind of have been taking from is that God, to me at least now, feels like, you mentioned this earlier before we started recording, like unconditional love.
Right.
And like unconditional, like keyword unconditional, because, you know, I think I think people are scared of that because we can't, no, people get, you know, betrayal is a thing. You know, people get cheated on, people get, you know, it's screwed over by other people. So that trust is kind of shifted, especially with our government. So we kind of
Sure.
Yeah. And we don't really know fully what it feels to be unconditionally loved. I don't
Right.
think.
Well, I think
but
that
maybe,
that energy is really hard to decipher, and that's what I think religious is, and theology is basically our interpretation of what that energy or God is.
No.
And I think it's really hard for me to personally associate myself with a specific religion for that exact reason. Like to apply the same metaphor I used earlier, it's like a rat doesn't know what a cell phone is,
Yeah.
right, at all. And it's like God is that cell phone for us, and we're rats. So it's like, how are all these individuals trying to decipher, saying this is the specific interpretation of what love is and what God is? I think that's so silly, and especially looking at like the timeline, it's really easy for me to see. So for instance, like the world has been around for X amount of years.
Yeah.
It's been around for much longer than human beings have existed.
Yeah.
Right. And let's say Christianity, for instance. Christianity has been around for a very small bubble of time.
Yeah.
And our timeline on this earth has been so small.
Yeah.
And based on what we know and learn every single day about the universe, we know now that the universe is vast.
Yeah.
It's grand. It's ever expanding.
Ever expanding, yeah.
Right. And there's more. If you don't believe there's life, intelligent life on other planets, I think that's very silly.
I think so too.
So I think
agree.
it's really hard for me to associate myself with any religion that says this is the only path.
Yeah.
Because it's like, so are you implying that any other species on other planets that have not heard the name Jesus or not heard the name Allah are being punished for that?
Yeah.
Or
they
right.
think should be punished.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
that the universe has existed for billions of years.
Yeah.
And since we've only been around for only a specific small
For a
timeline
tiny
of Earth,
spot.
so what about the civilizations that have lived beforehand on different planets
Yeah.
and have died out before we even existed?
Yeah.
So those species and forms of intelligent life basically have no touch on the reality of love
Yeah.
and what God is. I think that's silly to say that right now in this specific timeline, in this small specific species, in this
Yeah.
galaxy out of the thousands and millions
Yeah.
of galaxies in this one universe, and its possible universes, has the key. So I think it's really hard for me to grasp one religion that way, and that's what a real issue I have with one universal faith. I think it's up to interpretation.
Yeah.
100%. So I believe that a lot of religions have the same drive. Like if you look at Christianity versus Buddhism versus Islam, you all have the same one, as this love. There's love at the center. There's self-love, and there's
Yeah.
love for the universe, and there's love and higher connection towards that energy that is possibly unconditional love. Because I believe unconditional love is the most powerful thing in this planet. But you also can't have love without hate. There's no distinct definition of love if you don't have a distinct definition of hate. So hence
Yeah.
the yin and the yang, hence Taoism.
Yeah. No, that's true. It's like you can't really feel. There's so much. I'm like rewinding. That was a great.
Oh, sorry.
No, don't be. That was fantastic. I thought about something earlier that I was gonna say. No, I think a lot of people are on that same boat. I
Right.
think, including myself. I find it hard to subscribe to one thing because it's like there are infinite other things out there, and it's like it's
Right,
a
so
math
we're
problem.
so small.
You know,
we have no.
we're a tiny
limited.
blot.
Yeah, we're
on this
so limited.
We're
so limited.
Crazy.
So who are you to tell me you have all the answers?
Yeah.
In your faith.
Yeah.
It's an ego thing.
Yeah.
It's an ego thing. It's like me. You need. I'm right. I'm right.
Yeah, and it's Tim and I were talking about how, or what was it? Because I think it's really important that that people know that there's a lot to take from like these religions. Like you said, it's unconditional love is like the foundation for a lot of these religions. It gets twisted. And distorted. People murder in the name of God and in the name of Allah. You know, that gets twisted.
Because we're human beings. There's hate.
Exactly.
Just as much as there's love.
Exactly.
And that's going to live within an interpretation of God.
Yeah, always.
Yeah, because we're human beings.
So what I think is silly is when people fully like kind of switch themselves off to like a certain religion due to, things that due to sins that people have committed in the name of that religion. Because,
what do you mean?
Like, example, I'm going to kill these people in the name of God, the million times that's happened before.
But that's hypocritical.
Because, yeah, exactly. So it's like...
Love doesn't kill and extinguish an individual based on their actions.
Exactly. So, like, people judge the whole bubble based on, people who act on the name of the religion. They judge the whole religion based on that action.
Okay.
But if you look at Christ and what he actually stood for, it's like he wasn't doing that. He wasn't saying he wasn't.
He was doing the opposite.
He was doing literally the opposite.
Right. Exactly.
So that's the thing that I sometimes.
And that's why it's impossible for us to grasp too. It's because we believe we have this figured out and we have figured out love, but then we go kill in the name of that.
In the name of love.
Right. Which makes no sense. So there's a lot of there's a lot of aspects of faith which is really challenging. So
sorry, continue.
No, I was just saying, in my opinion, I think it's important to just follow your heart and to just acknowledge there is a higher power and know that we're so small, our capabilities of interpretation are minuscule.
I think a quote that really hit me that Jesus said actually was when he was on the cross and he said, "Oh Father, why have you forsaken me?" I think there's a lot in that.
Right, because that establishes humanistic characteristics.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's questioning.
And in that case, in that context, Jesus is God. So even God questions himself. It's like even God shakes his fist and questions God.
Right.
And that kind of is like, I think it's very human to shake your fist at God. I think that's something that, to be honest, is needed because, and I think
Job is a great example of that. The story of Job in the Bible, because of how, as the story goes, the devil, which I don't believe exists. I don't think there's one evil guy that's coming out to fuck his shit up.
I'm interested in that conversation.
Yeah, I think the devil represents just the energy of hate,
sin,
the energy of hate, just how God represents the energy of light and love. Yeah. But so basically, this devil comes and approaches approaches God and says, "Job is your most devout servant, your most devout follower. Let me see if I can fuck his shit up."
Okay.
And then he continues to ruin his life, takes away his land, takes away his family, his money, all his resources, everything, and eventually even Job crushes under that.
Yeah.
And says the same thing Jesus said was, "God, why have you forsaken me?"
Yeah.
So I think it doesn't matter how powerful or how intense you believe you are connected towards God or what that is, you're still going to have that humanistic characteristic of just pain and anger and just questioning what that really is and what God is.
It's always there, there's no...
What the plan is.
I'm really interested in the topic of like the idea of a devil kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I think that's an interesting point, is that you said that like it's something that represents something rather than a dude who's trying to like mess with people.
Like a fallen angel and all his legions of demons. I think that's like...
That kind of represents the fallenness of us.
Right. Yeah. I think like the only way we can really interpret a God and the devil is through him being an angel. I think maybe, or like for instance, the aspect like in the Garden of Eden where we're suddenly like naked, and what that means.
Yeah,
so it's like,
like
suddenly we recognize our nakedness as soon as we eat from the tree of knowledge. And I think what nakedness represents is like a lot of your vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
I think because when you're naked, you're vulnerable.
Insecurities.
Right.
Yeah.
You're vulnerable. And I think before that, because we're in the biblical representation of perfect love, which is in the Garden of Eden, that connection with God, they don't have any vulnerabilities because that is a time before hate.
Yeah, before it was all good,
right?
In some sense, right?
To an extent, yeah, to an extent.
And then that's such a sacred, story, because I think the Christ story is one of the, if not the oldest story ever told, at least by humans, is the redemption story. And it's told, in film, times 1,000 nowadays. Look at
like
Star Wars.
Like rehabilitation.
Yeah, like look at look at Star Wars is one of the bigger ones. It's like there's such a theme of redemption in that in the trilogy.
I haven't seen Star Wars.
Oh dang!
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan.
Lord of the Rings.
Sure.
Yeah, redemption. There's all these different popular cinema. All these popular movies that are on some level a way of showing a sense of redemption towards.
Yeah, the plots of similar characteristics of rehabilitation.
Because I think it's the biggest, most what is the word? I think people really vibrate on that. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to think of the word when someone like, oh, I feel that. I don't know. I'm forgetting. But it people see that and recognize it in themselves. Basically, is what I'm trying to say, and I think that's why the redemption story is so popular. Is because we all are in real time experiencing it, and we actually do have a choice to who we become. We have all of the sins of the worst person you can ever think of inside of us. We're all capable of these atrocities, and we're also all capable of on a I guess in the Jesus, with Jesus, it would be like a mirror. We're all capable of these miracles in the sense we're all capable of unbelievable good and unbelievable evil.
Right.
We're all capable of these things. And I think that's something really important to recognize, because if we don't recognize the good and evil inside of us, the God and Satan inside of us, I think it's much easier for the darkness to consume, because we'll have these kind of dark glasses over us and rose-colored glasses that we won't even know it. I think that it kind of
live in a denial.
Yeah, live in a denial, and it's kind of like I'd much rather eat unhealthily consciously than eat unhealthily unconsciously.
Yeah. So ignorance is not bliss.
In
this
this
situation.
Yeah. And because like if I'm eating crap unconsciously, I'm just gonna continue eating crap.
Right.
But if I'm like, okay, this is bad for me, but I'm gonna consume this.
Yeah.
Then it's like, okay, well, maybe my next meal will be healthier,
That's why I also have a problem with victimization or self-victimization, I should say.
No.
So people will say, why me?
Why it's dangerous.
Get those people away from me. So I don't like people that do that, because I feel it drains your own spirit if you surround yourself with people that are just stuck in a circle of self-doubt, or just blame everyone else for their problems. And I think that's so easy to do, and it's so contagious, and it can really damage your vision. It can damage who you want to be, and it's a poison. It's a true poison.
And it doesn't
get those people away from me.
It doesn't move them forward either. It
keeps them stagnant.
Literally keeps them stagnant. Yeah. Comfortability is really dangerous.
I 100% agree.
Because there's a warm blanket that darkness has.
But especially, it's like not even comfortability. It's just like I think it's a little pathetic for me to people that say like they're not even comfortable.
Yeah.
People are saying, why are these things happening to me? Why is this happening?
Yeah, I think comfortability is.
It's everyone's fault but mine.
Yeah.
And I'm not even comfortable, and I'm just gonna keep blaming other people for my problems and say, why me? When you live one time and you have one option and one decision to really, or one lifetime, I'd say, to really make something of yourself, and you're gonna sit there and just wallow when I know about 400 people that probably, or thousands and millions of people that have it so much worse than you.
Yeah.
You weren't born in like a mud hut.
Yeah.
You were born in one of the most wealthy countries in the world.
Yeah.
And you had, when I come across these people, they just don't understand that. It's a cycle of just pain. And it's so easy to break out of as soon as you understand that.
Yeah. And I think understanding it is
recognizing
the key.
it.
Yeah, and what you did at the end of high school.
Yeah.
You were like, I feel unhealthy,
I don't want to be this person that I'm becoming.
Yeah.
I don't want to change. Yeah. There's a better version of me out there, and I want to pursue that because I'm not satisfied.
Yeah.
And when you're satisfied, I think that's also very dangerous.
Yeah, that's the comfortability.
Right.
Is like, if you're satisfied, that's great, but keep moving.
Right.
Don't stay.
Because that satisfaction will deteriorate as well as long as you stay in one place.
Yeah. There's like a comfortability that's dangerous that kind of, like, it's like, think about in a relationship, let's say.
Sure.
Like, think of any unhealthy relationship. It's like a lot of time these relationships, people get together because, they're lonely and want someone. But but they're not happy. But it's a sense of comfortability, right?
Right.
So it's like
safe.
I have someone.
It's safe.
It's safe.
Yeah.
So, and it's like why, sadly, Connor was telling me how he sees so many kids in college that are only there because people tell them to go there.
Right.
And it's like it breaks our heart. It's like,
I think it's important to, you don't have to know, I think you can pursue a higher education without necessarily knowing the precise field you want to go into.
Yeah.
But I think what's really important is actually...
this case, they were not even, they were there to party.
Yeah, right.
That was the situation.
Right. So,
they were there not even to try.
Well, yeah, that's dangerous.
Yeah.
So that's a mentality that's not going to let you grow. You're going to deteriorate.
Yeah.
And that's...
There is
very common.
I said this before, but there's an odd sense of warmth of there's like a weird blanket of darkness, there's a coziness to self, what you mentioned like 5 minutes ago, to like self-deterioration. Like there's kind of a warmth in that because you don't have to have any responsibility.
Right.
It's like you're just kind of hanging out.
It's the easy way out.
It's the easy way out. But in the long run, that just doesn't help anyone.
Right.
It actually does the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, like, if that's what you want to do, though, like, good for you.
Yeah.
But, I mean, for me personally, like, I have these goals, and it's not going to help out if I just sit here and do nothing. You know, you got to
work.
You got to work. Working is, I think, one of the most important things. You just got to work your butt off. Yeah. And I feel also giving back to your community, too, is really important because, especially where you grew up in, because that's what shaped you. As long as you're obviously, the nature of how you were and the nurture how you're brought up. So like if your childhood and how your parents raised you is obviously essential, but your community is very, you are who you are is, you're rooted in your own community.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to give back to your communities. And I think that's a very key thing to do once you can, and help people too. And
it's not even like, it doesn't have to be a give. When you help others, it helps us.
You help yourself. Yeah, exactly.
It's really and it's not, and that's not bad. I think there's an argument that like people are like, oh well, everyone's just out to help themselves, even if they're helping others. But it feels good to help others.
Right.
But you also, that's not a bad thing.
Right. You can feel good with helping others. Like, what are you supposed to feel shitty? God, I just helped all these people. Like, fuck me.
Damn it.
Yeah. You feel good because you feel like that's the right thing to do, and it feels good to do that.
Yeah, and it goes back to that kind of gut feeling, that heart that you feel when you see someone in a mud hut with no food.
Right.
It's like, shit.
Right.
Like, that doesn't look fun.
Right.
Like, it's like, I want to help out. So we can take a lot of paths with this. We can be like, oh well, there's no way I can ever use the amount of energy that I need to change anything ever. But then there's like, yeah, but you can be part of the group that does change the world.
Yeah.
And
that's a choice.
And that's a choice.
When you wake up every morning, that's a choice.
Yeah.
It's a decision. Do you want to sit there and get drunk with your friends and that's it?
Yeah.
Or do you want to change the world? Do you want to do something that can help your community and help people around you? And I think that's just so important.
Yeah.
And when it comes to what I want to do with my profession, if I can reach those goals in my vision, which I hope I can, I think like the opioid epidemic is one of the biggest. It's unprecedented in this country. It's unprecedented, and I
No.
don't know if you just heard what happened with Johnson and Johnson, but they basically just got.
Oh, I saw on Facebook. I
Yeah,
think.
there was a not a settlement. They got
sued, didn't they?
Yeah, they got sued, and in damages they had to pay, I believe, $500,000, or excuse me, $500 million,
$500 million.
In damages, which is huge, and basically they were exposed as really advertising how effective and helpful opioids can be in a colorful manner, and leaving out the high addiction rate, and going to physicians and telling them that this is an appropriate drug prescription for specific complications when it comes to pain and pain management, when in reality that's not the case. And so I believe that Purdue has around 2,000 lawsuits right now that they're trying to settle
What's
out
the
of
company?
court. Purdue.
Oh, I've never heard of them.
Them and Johnson & Johnson are both the two biggest manufacturers of opioids in
Okay,
America.
yeah. So
And,
they know people pop
right.
them, and they profit off that.
Yeah, so I think that's which is it's great and refreshing to see finally a little bit of justice happen in regard to the battle of opioids. But I believe, especially in Massachusetts and New England, it's considered the overdose capital of the country.
Yeah.
Averages 8 overdoses a day, which is just terrifying. More than 1 million people nationwide have struggled with opioid abuse, and I think one of the biggest issues that comes with that is our rehabilitation of those people convicted of drug charges and drug crimes.
Set them up for failure again.
Right, absolutely. Because then when you get charged for, let's say, intent to sell heroin, then you're going to jail for XYZ more than a year. It's you're a felon. 9 out of 10
probably
times.
manslaughtered. They'd probably take that out.
It depends on the legislation of the state. But I believe in New Hampshire, I could be wrong about this, but I believe if you sell someone fentanyl-laced heroin, or heroin that kills them, I believe you as the dealer and distributor can be charged with manslaughter, which I think is a great thing.
Yeah, I think that's good. I don't know. I'm trying to form an opinion on just because you're right. We screw these addicts over by sending them to prison, and then when they get out, they can't even find a job because they've been to prison.
Exactly.
And it's like
you're in prison.
We shouldn't send them to prison. We should send them to rehabilitation or something
or
that shows them actual love.
Right. It's like, and even just like the prison complex in of itself, is a monster.
You probably know a lot about that. I really don't know much about it.
We have more than 2 million people incarcerated, which is the most. Most people incarcerated in the whole entire world out of any other country. Yeah. Which is definitely
there's
terrible.
a red flag right there.
Yeah, exactly. And I believe it has to do a lot with how our prison system is set up. Yeah. And the use and implementation of privately owned prisons. And
how many of them are private? I know there's a lot that private prisons.
I don't know the distinct number of private and state prisons, but
there's a good amount, right? I mean,
I believe bad. A lot of
I don't know why they
work with the
all.
state. It's business and monetary influence and monetary motive. But basically, so I think that is kind of an incentive to keep prisons full, keep that business running, and keep a profit running, which is definitely concerning. But when it comes to opioid addicts or people that are dependent on drugs, instead of having an actual criminal court proceeding, I believe what they should do, and I think should be more implemented into the criminal system, which it is drug courts. And drug courts were established, I believe, in 1988. And what they do is it's a voluntary program that the defendant signs to go to the drug court rather than be tried in a criminal court. Or and instead of the prosecution working against the defense, coming to a verdict that either benefits either the defense or the prosecution. They both work together to help this individual with his recovery and to see a recidivism rate that's much higher, and which is seen. The habitual offenders is much lower when people that graduate drug courts versus people that are incarcerated and then leave prison. And I think that's a really key statistic. So basically, that's saying that
drug courts really
are working more,
help out.
And they give back to the community.
That's what you want to get involved with, right?
Yeah, I think that's really important. And I think obviously a drug court isn't always successful, but I believe it has a lot of great qualities like incentive programs. So basically, if a defendant is working and working the program, and because I believe if you're in drug court, you require 3 days a week of substance abuse therapy. You have to get a job or get your GED. You have to give back to your community. These are regular requirements, which is it's just hard for some people. But some people that are serious about staying out of the criminal justice system and really want reform and rehabilitation within their own lives, they'll take that seriously, and it shows. So then they give back to the community. Like for instance, I think I forget the paper, but I was reading the paper the other day, a local paper, and it showed the front page was just members of the drug court were working in Nashua, cleaning up the city, and it's just really good to see that. And it's a program that allows people to take responsibility for their mistakes.
Yeah, and it's incentivized.
Right, so you can get they give $500 gas cards, or you get custody of your children back if you lost that.
I didn't know that.
That happens all the time.
Wow,
yeah. So if the state deems you not able to take care of your children, the state's going to take your kids. Yeah. It's a reality.
I think that's huge. The incentivizing that is huge. I think that's one of the biggest and most helpful ways we'll get people out of these prisons for good. Not to turn this political at all, but it's something that really piqued my interest recently with because that's what Andrew Yang wants to do. Mm-hmm. He wants to incentivize green energy with corporations. So what he wants to do is he wants to pay corporations to basically incentivize these corporations to release less carbon emissions than they already are.
So give them a main reason to want to actually transition from fossil fuels to a more reasonable and healthy source of energy.
Yeah, like if for instance, if a certain company cuts down less of the Amazon rainforest than they usually would, it's all right, we'll give you some certain amount of money, and now
so you can still profit, and you can still
profit and save this planet.
Right, exactly. So I think we do have to really work together as a global force to help change the resources we use for energy. We have 12 years, I believe, and then we're going to see detrimental effects if we don't do anything. Yeah,
we're already seeing them with the I think something that people should realize is that we're already screwed.
Right, we're already in trouble.
We're already in trouble. People are like, oh, when I'm dead, after I'm dead, or in 40 years. Yeah. But it's we're already there. We're already the sea's rising. We should move these people off the coast.
I don't think it's I don't think it's a problem of conscious understanding of the issue. I think it's the political system that we have in this country and throughout other countries. I don't know. I'm not knowledgeable about how other political systems work in different countries. But I believe that how it's a really broken system to where we have these politicians that are our representatives, and all they care about is getting elected. And and they have donors, obviously, that help them get elected through campaign money, through using resources that they wouldn't have available to themselves. Yeah. And which is terrible in American politics, is that these things are required. You
Yeah.
can't win a presidential nomination
Without
with the
money.
DNC or overall in general
Yeah.
if you don't have a huge donor. There's obviously Bernie.
And these
there's-
donors are what is it called when these companies donate a shit ton of money to a campaign? It starts with
it's
an
called
L,
super PACs.
I think. Or
They
something.
develop super PACs.
Okay, yeah.
And
So candidates.
political action committees is
Yeah,
what they are.
yeah.
Political action committees.
And then they have some sort of control. They have all the people with the most money have the most control, right?
Right.
It's like in essence,
Right.
It's a lot more complex than that. But so these people that are solely powered by individual donors have automatically a peg down on these these people who are getting millions of dollars. Yeah. So I think that should be. I mean, what they do in Japan is I'm pretty sure is their political system when they re-elect or elect someone, it's a 2-month. It's 2 months.
So they have
Not
limited
2 years.
They have
type
limited
thing.
terms.
Limited 2 months to get someone elected. 2 months to basically prove to Japan why they should be elected. So all this time with all this propaganda, all these advertising can't be pushed so much because if you have a year and a half, it's minimized because if you have 2 months, a lot of the time with less time, people are going to snuff out your shit quicker because in a span of a year and a half, like what we do here, however long it is, I know it's around that. It's like much easier to, I forget the word. It starts with an L. It's when people, it should be illegal. I forget what it is.
Lobbyists?
Lobbying. That should be illegal. That's the millions of dollars that these lobbyists have full control of these campaigns. So, or in America.
Well, I think in its essence,
so
its original reasoning and its original implementation into this political system, I think, is great. So what it does is it takes these people that want to establish legislation, and they tell these lobbyists, and then the lobbyists inform the politicians a lot of the time of the legitimacy of the law, what the law they want to push. But it's turned into this lobbyist saying, here, if you promote this law and you vote for this law, we'll give you millions of dollars.
Yeah, it's been twisted.
Exactly. Yeah. And when it comes to basically lobbyists, which I think have become a very distorted aspect of American politics.
Yeah.
And also,
they have more control than the actual candidates.
When these people are given this huge amounts of money when they're being elected, and as soon as a politician is elected, the only thing he gives a shit about is being reelected.
Sadly,
that is the only thing he cares about. It's his job. He wants to keep his job.
Yeah.
So what is he going to do? So he's going to follow the policies and vote accordingly to the policies that these huge donors gave him. So hey, we'll give you, when it's time for you to be reelected, we'll give you another $1 million. But you better push for XYZ.
Oh, there was
a
statistic there was a, damn it, I don't know where this is from exactly, but it was they viewed Hillary Clinton's views in 1998. And then they viewed it in 2010.
Right, there's no consistency. There's no consistency.
They were like this due to what the lobbyist, wanted her to
because lobbyists a lot of time represent company and corporations.
Yeah, so it's it's really corrupt. That's why Yang has given me some hope because after meeting him and seeing him is
I like his idea of his dividend and the universal income.
Yeah.
I think that's a very interesting concept.
It is. It
would change my life.
Yeah.
As someone who's trying to right now make his own life.
Yeah. It would go right towards personal businesses. It would go right back into the economy. And ironically,
it would change my life.
Yeah.
It would change my life if I would be able to have saved, just not even through working, just have $12,000 a year.
With that on top of what you work for,
right.
That's
so
huge.
it would change my life.
It's a game changer.
It would change my life.
But people, sometimes, and there, everything has its flaws, and I think this isn't without its flaws, but I think it's one of the, you can look up all the stats when it comes to Andrew Yang. You could look up that it's true that truck driving is the most popular job in 29 states. You can look up that, a certain amount of bartenders, hundreds amount of bartenders have lost their jobs due to automation. Bartenders. Did I tell you that actually?
No, I didn't know this.
Literally, it's on YouTube, anywhere. You can look up, automated bartenders. And there are these robot arms that you type in your drink.
And they just make the drink
for
you?
And they just go and make the drink. And, people, you would think people like people more, but people are like, oh, whoa, there's a robot
I don't
doing
have to
this.
tip you.
Yeah, I'll have to tip you. They don't need to get paid benefits. They don't need to get paid money.
Right.
So, look at Amazon warehouse. It's wall-to-wall robots.
Right.
They, in the long run, they save billions of dollars a year.
Right.
So it's like, why wouldn't we go on? Andrew Yang's, I'm pretty sure, at least I am for automation. He's just also for
a shift in the job
adapting.
market.
Yeah.
A shift in the job market.
Economically adapting to this huge
It's
change.
unavoidable. It's going to be, it's unprecedented. It's going to be the most phenomenal and interesting change in, I'd say, American history is the rise of AI and the rise of automation and autonomous vehicles.
Yeah, no, it's already
the
here.
rise of technology. Right.
Tesla,
it's already here.
Trucks are already driving themselves.
Right, and people, they don't think that.
No, because it's not in front of them.
Right, exactly. You know? Oh, that's 20 years from now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's 15 years from now. It's like, no, also if you see even the timeline since the year 2000, our rise of technology, the progression, we now measure it in weeks. We used to measure it in years and decades. Yeah. We now measure, there's new technology every single month that's coming out. And it's
trying to top the bottom.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's global.
And it's good, but it's also can be detrimental.
Yeah, but there's also there's ups and downs and positives and negatives about anything.
Just it's how we react to this insane change.
Right. Even the rise of social media.
Yeah, this is the most change humankind has ever dealt with ever in this short amount of time.
Absolutely.
And it's like
it's going to be interesting how we deal with it. It's only going to continue to rise and shift.
That's the heart of his campaign is just dealing with this insane change.
This elephant in the room.
Yeah, that no other candidates are even remotely talking about this. So he's just like, guys, it's like we should be talking about this automation thing that's going to delete millions of jobs. You know, what are these people? They can't get retrained. That's already been proven wrong.
Right.
You can't retrain these people. So what are they going to do? People find meaning in work.
Right.
People find meaning in these things that they put effort into.
I think the most important thing to get involved in, because it's really hard to change national politics, but I think local government is where you can have the most change and the most influence. Voting in your local elections, becoming a local selectman. These have great benefits for you, even understanding how the political process works and the political climate, but also just seeing if you can really shape a community, which I think is really, really essential. And I think Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's one of my biggest role models in life,
governor of California.
He was the governor. He's no longer the governor, but he did a lot infrastructure wise for the. He was named. He has a lot of negative things about him being governor and representing California, how he did. But I think he gave a lot to the infrastructure and just he is a huge supporter and very much involved with Special Olympics. And he's a wonderful person and one of the biggest role models in my life.
I think that's a huge deal, is getting involved locally. I think that's
right.
I mean, that doesn't only shape, your local town, but you're getting out of bed and doing something. And, I think that's on a basic level is important.
Exactly.
Goes back to not staying stagnant.
Yeah, and Arnold really expresses and really pushes that giving back to your community is really important, and I think that's.
I want to look up more videos on him. I really don't know much.
He's really inspiring. He was Mr. Universe, I think for 12 years consecutively.
What is that?
It's
is that like an Emmy kind of thing, or is
he was a bodybuilder.
Oh,
so then
nice.
for lifting weights, I believe it's the most prestigious title or championship title you can get in bodybuilding. So he did that, and then so he basically manifested his ideas.
Yeah.
And so he was a small man a small boy from Austria, and his parents wanted him to become a policeman like his father.
Yeah.
And he had no dreams of this, and his idol, Reg Park, was a huge bodybuilder in Mr. Universe countless times before that.
Yeah.
And then he got into movies of Reg Park, and he was like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And he worked so hard, and he's one of the biggest role models for his work ethic for me. It's like he decided after he moved to America, worked in bodybuilding 6 hours a day. He went to college.
Yeah.
And then also managed a construction company. And then took acting classes 8 p.m. to 12 a.m. every single day.
Yeah.
And with him working as hard as he did, he really manifested his goal. And after he went to agents in California after he decided he was done with bodybuilding and said, I want to become a movie star. And they laughed at him. And they're like, do you think anyone's going to want to come see and flood the movie theaters for someone named Arnold Schwarzenschwitzel? Like, what is it called again?
Yeah.
And it's a laughable name. And he put that aside and worked at it, and he got the title of his first big role was Conan the Barbarian, which is I forget the movie.
I recognize that name. He's like paint all over him.
Yeah,
right?
it's a phenomenal movie.
Yeah.
But
yeah, he's a huge.
And then Terminator.
Yeah, Terminator was the number
I'll
one.
I'll Be Back is one of the most notorious and historic names in modern cinema.
Yeah.
And statements in modern cinema. So he's really and then he became a politician, and now he works with Special Olympics and giving back to his community. So he's a phenomenal person and is really.
I can see why you look up to him.
Yeah, he's I hope to maybe aspire to be one of his. I guess achievements. He's a great guy. I read a lot of his stuff.
Yeah, that's someone that's I think one of the most important things is finding people to look up to, and I think I really don't know much about him. I'll watch some videos on him later. But
yeah, he's very very put together guy.
I'm really interested in him. But yeah, I think that was. I'm just gonna finish it off. So
okay.
Thank you for joining us, you guys. Anyone who's watching, this was a pleasure. Thanks for being on, Will.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, see you later, guys.